This is how the 8 richest black families in New Jersey live, and they're quietly turning the Garden State into a new black Mecca. We're talking a comedian who survived a horrific crash and walked away with a fortune, an NBA legend rebuilding the Newark that raised him, and a billionaire who quietly controls the region's ports. Let's get into it. Number 8. The Morgan Dynasty. Let's kick this off with a lifestyle so wild it sounds like a stand-up bit, except every word of it is real. Tracy Morgan, the comedian you might know from 30 Rock and decades of sold-out tours, is sitting on a fortune of around $70 million, and the way he lives is straight-up cartoonish in the best possible way. But before we get to the Shark Tanks, and yes, there are actual Shark Tanks, you have to understand where a big chunk of that money came from, because it's anything but funny. Back in 2014, Morgan was riding in a vehicle on the New Jersey Turnpike when a Walmart truck slammed into them. The crash left him with severe traumatic brain injuries and, most heartbreakingly, took the life of his close friend and fellow comedian James McNair. It was a genuine tragedy, and the long, brutal recovery that followed nearly ended his career and his life. The confidential settlement that came out of it was reportedly somewhere in the neighborhood of $90 million, and Morgan has spoken openly about how he'd trade every cent of it to have his friend back. What he did with that second chance, though, was lean all the way into joy. In 2015, he bought a massive 22-room, 22,000-square-foot brick mansion on over 2 acres in Alpine, New Jersey, for just under $14 million. And he turned it into the ultimate kid-friendly luxury playground, partly inspired by his young daughter. We're talking a custom bowling alley right inside the house, an indoor basketball court, a full professional movie theater, a 6-car garage, and those custom fish and shark tanks I mentioned, because of course. Then there are the cars. He famously bought a $2 million Bugatti Chiron, one of the rarest hypercars on the planet, and it got sideswiped in Manhattan literally minutes after he drove it off the lot. Minutes. Imagine spending $2 million on a car and not even making it home before someone clips it in traffic. Only in New York. Plus a Lamborghini worth nearly $500,000 just sitting in the collection. Oh, and the man owns a staggering 10,000 pairs of sneakers, housed in custom-built closets. That means if he wore a different pair every single day, it would take him over 27 years to get through them all. But here's the thing. Morgan isn't even the only one out in Alpine, living with a movie theater and an indoor court. His neighbor, a few mansions over, has a Hall of Fame plaque to go with his. Number 7. The Sabathia Dynasty. That neighbor is CC Sabathia, the retired Cy Young winner and first-ballot Baseball Hall of Famer. And his story is one of serious money-meeting, serious redemption. Over a 19-year career on the mound, Sabathia earned more than $246 million in salary and bonuses, which at the time of his retirement was the most of any active player in the league. Today, alongside his wife Amber, the family's net worth sits at around $100 million, carefully moved into private equity, real estate, and creative ventures. And their home is something else. Since 2009, the Sabathias have lived in a sprawling 15,000-square-foot custom colonial in Alpine, and the amenity list reads like a luxury resort brochure. 6 bedrooms, an indoor basketball court, an infinity pool, a professional-grade home beauty salon, and my personal favorite, a private movie theater with a complete concession stand. Not a popcorn machine. A full concession stand. The master suite was designed by a renowned interior designer and anchored by custom luxury bedding. This is what generational comfort actually looks like. But here's what makes Sabathia's story hit different, and it's not the square footage. In 2025, he was inducted into the National Baseball Hall of Fame, and his speech brought the house down because he used that stage to thank his mother and his wife Amber for walking him through the hardest fight of his life. CC Sabathia is open about his battle with alcohol addiction, and in October of 2025, he celebrated a full decade of sobriety. Think about that. The towering athlete, the massive contracts, the Hall of Fame plaque, and the achievement he's proudest of is 10 years sober. That's a different kind of wealth entirely, and there's a beautiful little detail in how he treated that Alpine estate. Sabathia made it a strict personal rule that the pressure and chaos of Yankee Stadium were never, ever allowed to cross the George Washington Bridge into New Jersey. His home was a sanctuary, full stop. The family's woven right into the local fabric too, with Amber serving as a Girl Scout leader and cheerleading liaison over in nearby Tenafly. For CC, Jersey was the place the noise finally went quiet. Sabathia used New Jersey to escape the game that made him. Our next baller did the exact opposite. He made Jersey the place he came home to, specifically to honor where he started. Speaking of the achievement that matters more than any contract, your health. That's what pulled someone on our team to the Pulse R8 smart ring. It reads your heart rate, your sleep, and your workouts right from your finger. A week on a charge, 100 days with the case, and it's fully waterproof. The surprise was the price. Under $40, a fraction of the big-name rings, because it comes direct instead of through the retailers that mark everything up. If you're watching on your TV, pause and scan the QR code on screen with your phone camera, or tap the first link in the description. Because our next baller came home to Jersey to honor exactly where he started. Number 6. The Irving Dynasty. Kyrie Irving's relationship with New Jersey isn't about getting away from anything. It's about going back to his roots, and the way he's done it is genuinely touching. The NBA champion has built a net worth of roughly $90 million, and his money moves are some of the most forward-thinking on this entire list. Sure, there are the massive guaranteed basketball contracts, including a 3-year, $120 million deal. But the really clever play is his sportswear partnership with the Chinese athletic giant Ante, worth an estimated $11 million a year. And this isn't your standard slap-your-name-on-a-shoe endorsement. The deal made Kyrie the chief creative officer of the brand's entire basketball division, handing him equity-like control, full product design autonomy, and even the power to recruit other athletes. He's not a spokesman. He's basically a partner with a creative throne. That's the move every athlete wishes they could pull off. His New Jersey footprint includes a sleek modern loft in Union City and an expansive 8,000-square-foot 9-bedroom estate in West Orange that doubles as a luxury sports sanctuary, sitting on 2 acres with both indoor and outdoor swimming pools. But the property that really tells you who Kyrie is isn't even one he lives in. He grew up in West Orange, dominated the New Jersey high school basketball scene, and to show his appreciation, he and his sister Asia surprised their father Drederick with a complete top-to-bottom luxury renovation of their childhood home, documenting the entire 2-month transformation. Picture that. The kid who made it big didn't just buy a mansion and forget the old house. He gave the old house a glow-up and handed it back to the man who raised him. And that's the through line with Kyrie. Despite playing in big markets all over the country, he keeps his off-season home base right there in Essex County, staying a major force in northern New Jersey's youth basketball and community scene. The roots never got cut, they just got watered. Now, every name we've covered so far got rich by playing a game. The next man built a fortune just as large without ever picking up a ball, and he did it inside what might be the most powerful boardroom in the entire state. Number 5. The Frazier Dynasty. Meet Kenneth Frazier, the former chairman and CEO of Merck, and honestly one of the most important figures on this whole list, because his wealth represents something you don't see nearly enough of. Pure, top-tier corporate power. No jump shot, no punchlines, no platinum records. Just a black man running one of the largest pharmaceutical companies on the planet from right here in New Jersey. And the numbers are quietly staggering. Public records show that between 2018 and 2020 alone, Frazier sold over $110 million in Merck stock, and that came after years of executive compensation that routinely landed between $17 and nearly $22 million a year. When he stepped into the executive chairman role, his pension and retirement plans were valued at another $26 million on top of all that. This is hundreds of millions of dollars, built inside the corporate machine. But here's what makes Frazier a genuine legend in New Jersey business history. As CEO, he orchestrated the $41 billion acquisition of Schering Plough, and that single deal brought a drug called Keytruda into Merck's pipeline, a groundbreaking cancer immunotherapy that now pulls in over $14 billion a year. Read that again. One deal, one drug, $14 billion a year. On top of that, his legal brilliance reportedly saved the company an estimated $20 to $50 billion in potential liabilities during a massive lawsuit crisis. The man is a one-person fortune protection machine, and his origin story is the kind that sticks with you. Frazier was raised in a tough North Philadelphia neighborhood by his father, a self-educated janitor who drilled into him a relentless work ethic and a hunger for intellectual excellence. From the son of a janitor to the CEO of a global pharmaceutical empire. That's not luck. That's generations of grit compressed into one lifetime. And he's spent his power lifting others, co-founding a coalition of top CEOs committed to getting 1 million Black Americans into solid, family-sustaining jobs. He didn't just climb the ladder, he's busy building new ones for everybody behind him. Frazier ran one of the biggest companies in New Jersey. But our next man? He quietly controls the very infrastructure that giants like Merck depend on to even function. Number 4. The Ogunlesi dynasty. Now we step into a completely different weight class, because Adebayo Ogunlesi is worth an estimated $2.5 billion, and I'd bet most people watching have never once heard his name. That's not an accident. That's the whole point. While everyone else on this list is famous for a face, a voice, or a jump shot, Ogunlesi got rich owning the stuff that actually makes the modern world run. Here's how it works. Back in 2006, he co-founded a firm called Global Infrastructure Partners. And instead of chasing flashy startups, they bought the unglamorous backbone of civilization. Airports, energy grids, shipping terminals, ports. And they were so good at it that the firm ballooned to manage over $100 billion in infrastructure assets around the globe. Then in January of 2024, the asset management titan BlackRock swallowed the whole thing in a deal worth roughly $12.5 billion in cash and stock. Today, Ogunlesi still runs the firm as chairman, and he sits on the boards of both BlackRock and Goldman Sachs. When the most powerful financial institutions on earth want a seat filled, they call him. And before all of that, there's a detail that gives me chills every time. As a young lawyer, Adebayo Ogunlesi clerked for Thurgood Marshall, the legendary Supreme Court Justice, becoming one of the first foreign-born Black attorneys to ever hold that kind of appointment. So this is a man who started his American journey at the right hand of a civil rights icon and ended it controlling $100 billion in global infrastructure. Let that arc sink in for a second. So where does New Jersey fit? This is the part that's almost spooky. Through his firm's massive shipping and logistics holdings, Ogunlesi has a hand in the critical port and terminal infrastructure tied to the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. In plain English, the goods flowing in and out of this region, the containers, the cargo, the supply chain the entire state leans on, move through systems he holds serious influence over. He doesn't need a mansion with shark tanks to prove anything. His footprint is the ports themselves. That's a level of quiet structural power that the loudest billionaire in the world simply can't buy. Speaking of loud though, you've definitely never heard Ogunlesi's name. But our next two names? You could shout them in any country on the planet and people would know exactly who you mean. Number 3. The Carter Dynasty. Yeah, you knew they had to be on here. Sean Carter, better known as Jay-Z, and his wife, Beyonce Knowles Carter, command a combined household fortune north of $3 billion, officially the heaviest hitters by net worth on this entire list. Jay-Z became hip-hop's first billionaire, and the way they've built their empire is a masterclass in turning culture into ownership. Because this isn't just music money. The foundation is Roc Nation, their sprawling entertainment and sports agency, but it branches out everywhere. Private equity, champagne, through the Ace of Spades brand. Cognac, through Deuce. Master recordings, music catalogs, and a stack of tech investments that keep the whole thing bulletproof. And the spending matches the scale. In 2023, they bought a 30,000 square foot concrete and glass compound in Malibu, designed by a legendary architect for a record-shattering $200 million. $200 million for one house. That sits next to an $88 million Bel Air estate with a 15-car garage, an East Hampton property, a converted Spanish church in New Orleans, and a fine art collection featuring original Basquiat work. These are not rich people. These are institution-level rich people. So what's the New Jersey connection? It's real, but it's also a story about a chapter that closed. Jay-Z was a longtime resident of Alpine, the same ultra-exclusive Bergen County zip code where half this list lives, and his early business roots ran straight through the state. He held a famous ownership stake in the then New Jersey Nets, And he was a central figure in orchestrating that franchise's billion-dollar move from the Meadowlands to the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. And right there is the fascinating twist. The single richest family on this entire list is also the one that, in many ways, moved on from New Jersey. They took the Nets to Brooklyn. They sold the Alpine compound. Their flagship homes are in Malibu and Bel Air now. The Carters represent the old guard, the Jersey legends who used the state as a launchpad to global domination, and then planted their flag elsewhere, which makes the next two families the most important on this whole list. Because while the Carters were leaving, these two were coming home to build. Number 2, the O'Neill dynasty. And now we get to the heart of the whole new Black Mecca story, because Shaquille O'Neal isn't just rich, he's putting his money exactly where his roots are. The Hall of Famer turned media giant is worth around $400 million. And the wild part is how little of that comes from basketball anymore. Shaq turned himself into an empire of operating businesses. We're talking over 150 car washes, 40-plus fitness clubs, the fast-growing Big Chicken restaurant chain, and early equity in a little startup you might have heard of called Google. The man invests like he played, dominating every space he steps into. But here's what matters most. Shaquille O'Neal was born and raised in Newark's Central Ward, and he openly credits the city's youth programs with saving his early life and career. So now that he's got the money and the platform, he's pouring it straight back into the concrete that made him. In partnership with a local developer, Shaq is literally reshaping the Newark skyline. He's behind the $80 million 22-story Shaq Tower 1 and the $150 million 33-story Shaq Tower 2, which together make up the largest mixed-income residential development in the entire state under Newark's inclusionary zoning rules. Stop and appreciate what that actually means. A kid from the Central Ward who used to have nothing is now building skyscrapers in his own hometown, with affordable units baked right into the plan so longtime Newark residents can actually live in them. And these aren't bare-bones buildings either. We're talking towers anchored by a Whole Foods, a celebrity restaurant, rooftop cabanas, and outdoor pools, the kind of luxury that used to skip right over a city like Newark. He even keeps personal penthouse properties inside those very towers, using them as both a home and as living proof that he believes in the investment. He's not parachuting in for a photo op. He's planting his flag in the same soil he grew up on. That, right there, is what economic sovereignty looks like in real time. Shaq is rebuilding the skyline of the city that raised him. But he isn't the only one planting Black capital back into Newark, and our final family did it for the most personal, most emotional reason on this entire list. Number 1, the Owens dynasty. And here she is at number 1, not because she's the richest on paper, but because her story is the purest expression of everything this list is about. Dana Owens. The world knows her as Queen Latifah, the Grammy winner, the Oscar nominee, the absolute pioneer. Her net worth sits at an estimated $80 million, built on a foundation most entertainers never managed to lay. She co-founded Flavor Unit Entertainment, her own production company, and then went a giant step further, becoming co-president of a real estate development firm called Blue Sugar Corporation. She turned fame into ownership, and then turned ownership into bricks and mortar. Now she's lived the luxury, no doubt. There was the scenic 9-acre estate down in Colts Neck with the Olympic-sized heated pool, and she's a genuine car enthusiast with a soft spot for classic Mustangs. But that's not where her heart is anymore. Her heart is in Newark, and it's tied to one person above all others. In 2018, Latifah lost her mother, Rita Owens, a beloved former Newark schoolteacher, to lung disease. And instead of letting that grief sit still, she turned it into a monument you can walk through. Latifah is spearheading a development called Rise Living, and here's the detail that gets me every single time. RISE is an acronym. It stands for Rita is Still Everywhere. She named an entire $100 million housing development after her late mother. It's a 76-unit mixed-use project on Newark's Springfield Avenue, complete with modern amenities, EV charging, dedicated space for local nonprofits, and a serious chunk of units kept affordable on purpose. And that purpose is everything. Latifah, born in Newark and raised in East Orange, has been crystal clear that she's structuring these developments so that longtime residents don't get priced out of the very neighborhoods that built them. She's not gentrifying Newark, she's trying to lift it without erasing the people in it. So when you ask what the new Black Mecca really looks like, this is it. It's a daughter taking the money she earned from her talent and using it to make sure her mother's city and her mother's name live on in something permanent. Rita is still everywhere. That's not just a slogan, that's a blueprint. So that's the 8 richest Black families in New Jersey, and when you line them all up, a real pattern jumps out. From Tracy Morgan's Shark Tanks in Alpine to Adebayo Ogunlesi quietly controlling the region's ports, from Ken Frazier running a pharmaceutical empire to Shaq and Queen Latifah literally rebuilding the Newark skyline, this is so much more than a list of rich people. So I've got to know, which one surprised you the most? Was it the quiet billionaire Ogunlesi, the comeback story of Cece Sabathia, or Queen Latifah turning her mother's memory into an entire neighborhood? Drop it in the comments, smash that like button, and subscribe to Black Status, because we drop stories like this every single week. We'll see you on the next one.